Hi, today I'm going to take a look at this Lima Golden Series streamlined steam locomotive set. This is set 149803, and in this livery it belonged to the Lubeck-Buchener Eisenbahn, which was a private railroad running between Lubeck and Hamburg. At the time that was a lot more difficult than it sounds, as the two cities were separated by the Kingdom of Denmark. Let's take a look what's in the box. So to begin with, we have this wonderful streamlined locomotive. Sometimes Lima did things very right, and this is definitely a unique model. I think it came out quite well. It has a light bulb in the front. It has a socket in the back, but no light bulb. We're going to open it up in a minute and see if there's some fiber optics in there for a light. So this is number one. Only 3 of these locomotives were made, and they were made all in one so that they could provide express service, and then at the end destination they could be refilled and go back to the originating station as quickly as possible. Then we have the cars, double-decker cars. If you can see the sign, it says from Lubeck to Hamburg. This is a second class smoking. This is third class non-smoking. Double-decker with interior. And then this one is 2 levels of third class smoking. Also with a destination sign, some metal handrails. Detailing, as you can see, is minimal, but it still makes for a very impressive train. So let's see if it runs. I don't have an analog layout anymore. This thing's been in storage since, well, probably somewhere in the early 2000s. I do have an analog test track here, so let's see what happens. Not much. Oh, a little bit there. There we go. Not bad. Not typical for a Lima lot with a pancake motor. I did see for a brief moment that the light worked when going forward. There we go, and you can see that. So at least it works. Now that we know it works, let's see if we can break it in a little bit on the test stand here. It pretty much starts to move at around 35% of power. Same thing in the other direction. Before we proceed with taking the locomotive apart, let's take a look at the cars. The most notable thing is the tiny, tiny wheels that are on the bogies. Some styrofoam left. There we go. Forget about close coupling, of course, but let's watch it run for a foot or so. Now let's take a look at this locomotive. Only 3 of these were built. They were built by Henschel, 2 of them in 1936 and 1 in 1937. The one in 1937 had a slightly bigger boiler. This one is number 1. What little documentation I found online seemed to indicate that the lights were actually the top sign and these 2 little dots beneath the buffers. Lima put the headlights here, which seems to make sense, and it looks good that way, but I could not find any video or photo that shows that those were actually lights. There were 2 lids there, but the footage is rather grainy, and I can't tell if that is actually light. I never saw it illuminated, that's for sure. We have the same setup on the back with the little dots under the buffers. There is an empty socket on the back, and there's a socket with a light bulb in the front. This one is colored gray, and the number was simply 1, 2, and 3. In 1938, after nationalization, this was taken over by the Deutsche Reichsbahn, and this became class BR60, not to be confused with the class E60, which was an electric shunter in service around the same time. So let's open it up and see what's inside. So it looks like it's held together by the buffers here. See if we can push those out. Yeah, here's 1 and 2, like that. The front seems to have a cutout, so maybe it doesn't, and it has the tab right there, so maybe just spread it out. Yeah, there you go, there it comes out. And here are the guts of this locomotive. So we have the pancake motor, we have a ballast weight, and from the looks of it, plenty of room for a decoder. Power pickup is on all the wheels. We have them here on the main drive wheels. We have it back here on one side. This one's insulated, so it's coming up here, and the other side, this one's insulated, so it's coming up here. That hides somewhere underneath, comes out here. The socket for the light is connected to that pickup. Same thing on the back. And then there's a diode right here for the light bulb. And ooh, that's very, very close. If you can see that, it looks like that wheel had to pretty much cut its own way to turn. And this certainly looks like it has never been run. Everything is clean, there's not even any corrosion. Let's comes out. All right, let's see what this looks like on the test bed. Everything's spaced out right. Let's give it some power. I think all in all, it's running quite well considering its age. I'm gonna set that. One more time forward. Further with this locomotive, I just want to quickly introduce the twin brother to this. This is set number 149803G, and it is the same model, but it differs in that the locomotive is molded in black. It now has the 60001 and the Deutsche Reichsbahn designation, and the third class carriage has also been renamed with the Deutsche Reichsbahn logo as opposed to the Lubeck-Buchener Eisenbahn. So I've owned this set for quite a long time, but I've never seen it run until today. I do not have an analog layout. I have digital Z21 system, so I would love to convert this to digital and put a decoder in there. So while there's a lot to be said about the limitations of the pancake motor from Lima, this thing is literally new as it was 30 years ago. So I think I can convert it without any modifications or updates to the motor and at least get it running. And if problems develop, I do have some other CAN motors I can put in there at a later time. But right now, I just like to get it to run on my shadow station track, which I have functioning downstairs. So let's see if we can make this digital.